Scarlet Knights fans, it's your host, Larry K. This is Night Watch. I know you got to see me do a post-game reaction from Rutgers' 26-23 victory last Saturday. This Friday, we have the Washington Huskies coming to town, a team that was the runner-up for the national title last year, obviously going into an absolute buzzsaw versus Michigan and taking a loss there. They've started the season relatively strong at 3-1. We will be their fifth straight game, and that is going to perhaps give us a slight advantage with them traveling from west to east. So far, my predictions have been accurate up to this point. I did predict us to start 3-0, so let's see if my streak can continue from last year and I can stay in the win column. First, I want to touch base just briefly once again on Rutgers' victory over Virginia Tech. Nail-biter that didn't have to be a nail-biter, quite frankly. I thought we were going to absolutely run away with that game after what I saw in the first half. And to be honest, it wasn't as if we necessarily lined up helmet on helmet and just dominated from the gun. We had to force that fumble, which was a very good play for Rutgers, quite fortuitous. That being said, Coach Schiano, Rutgers teams are built upon that type of play. We convert. Then defensively, I thought early on we were doing what we had to do. It's great to see Tyrene Powell back. It was great to see Wesley Bailey back. I had been saying all season that when you see those two guys back, it might bode well for our defense. That being said, Powell didn't play the entire game. Kind of was in and out a little bit as he works his way back in. Bailey with the absolutely vital pressure in Virginia Tech's end zone that caused Drones to throw the ball behind him and got a safety. That being said, the safety, was because of we had a fumble there, and it changed things a little bit. Either it's going to be a big swing and we could have had 7 points, or it's going to be a smaller swing if we had elected to kick the field goal, would have been a 1-point swing. But just some odd head-scratching things. I talked about it a bit in my post-game. I won't belabor it now because it's been belabored on every podcast out there in the Rutgers media sphere, which is fine. It should be belabored. It was kind of a head-scratcher, to say the least. Not opting to go for field goals close into the end zone, not opting to run the ball closer in, which I understand. I mean, the call, we'd been running a option play quite successfully for most of the game. You want to take them by surprise. Virginia Tech was daring us to run the ball. It wasn't Kyle Monungai's best day. But still, maybe you feed your beast down there near the end zone, or maybe you build up the kicker's confidence a bit, having missed a short field goal, rather than sending the kicker out there for a very long field goal, which really changed field position and really kind of set up Virginia Tech's run, I thought, in the second half, which got very scary. I just think, if we're looking at analysis of that game, I think Virginia Tech kind of got into a groove. Our guys looked kind of gassed. I think there were some comments out there, the players saying they were gassed. I understand that the time of possession was probably the best time of possession that Rutgers has had in this Schiano 2.0 era. That being said, and this was brought up, I think, on the Rutgers Rant podcast with Politi and those guys. Fonseca might have had the stat. I don't know if Lanny did, but they had the stat where the time of possession was the best it's been in years. So why would Rutgers defense be gassed? I think they were just gassed because of the momentum and the way that particular moment in the game was playing out. They looked gassed. It looked like Virginia Tech was kind of hurrying up to the line of scrimmage. We had talked about Drones being a playmaker. We had talked about the necessity of containing Drones, and if Drones couldn't be contained, that we'd be in some trouble. So I thought it was kind of unsurprising that we got a little gassed when Drones got going, and not just Drones, Tootin, their running back. Really more so him, I'd say. I mean, just an absolute playmaker. And we can say, oh, Rutgers didn't make the tackles, Rutgers didn't do its job, Rutgers failed to contain. Some of that's true to some extent. Our linebacker play has been hit or miss this year. even within games, it's going to have to improve. I think with Powell returning and the young guys getting more run, I think it's going to improve over the course of the season. You'd rather learn and take your lumps in a win than learn and take your lumps in a loss. So, those guys got going, and it was a little bit of a, hey, we're on our heels. But the signs of maturity for a program, the signs of maturity for a team are, making plays when you need to. And Robert Longerbeam, goes in there and he deflects a ball to himself and comes up with the interception. That is the type of play you expect from a playmaker like him. And that's what good teams do. They rely on their playmakers to come through when they need it most. And then you have Kyle Monangai, who didn't have the best game per se. He goes in there and he gets 2 first downs and grinds out the win. And that's not even to mention Ian Strong's screen reception that went for all those yards, took us all the way down into the red zone and allowed Jay Patel, who props to him too, after a rough go, to, in a clutch situation, in a hostile environment, kick a game-winning field goal. The OC with that play call, which, judging by Shiano's smirk, was the same play call that went for a pick 6 against Michigan last year. Ian Strong plays it absolutely beautifully, making one move, getting outside the defense, who had been collapsing and bringing pressure from that angle. Ethan Kaliakmanis stays poised, delivers the football, and Kirk Shiraka calls a beautiful play. So, not the way you wanted to go out, the way the beginning of the game started. But if I told you that we go into Blacksburg and we come out with a victory, we start the season 3-0, I think everybody would have taken it. I predicted on the show with the Virginia Tech guys and with Brian last week that we would come out victorious. Somewhere in the 20s, the score would be, and by 3 points. And I was right there. So that's the type of game you're going to play on the road against a Power 4 opponent. And that's the way you got to win sometimes. And that's no slouch. I mean, look, Virginia Tech has had some trouble defending the option as of late. No one's denying that. That was said in the preview I had with the Virginia Tech guys, that they struggled a bit defending the option. Struggled defending the option specifically against Vandy, and that's part of the reason they lost. And so we run an option play several times, and it has success. And that's what good coaching staffs do, and that's what good teams do. And that's what we did, and it was great to see. So that's how you come away with victories, and that's how you start a season 3-0. Ethan Kaliakmanis, 16 of 25 for 269 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He's protecting the football. His average has risen to the point we wanted it to be to make this offense efficient. I thought one of the most interesting things about this game, and I've been keeping tabs on Rutgers, being objective and calling shots, calling balls and strikes throughout this season. And one of the things I was worried about, after seeing the Akron game where we had to rely so heavily on Kyle, was, can these receivers consistently get separation? Will this quarterback consistently put the ball where it needs to go and protect the football? Now, everybody saying there were no throws that could have been picked. I saw one throw. I forget what part of the game. I want to say it was first half, late in the first half. Ethan threw a ball and somebody sped through. I think maybe a linebacker got his hands on the ball and it wound up falling for nothing. So that was the only pass, though, that I even saw remotely dangerous. Other passes, you had an out route where it was perfectly placed, beautiful catch as well, and just perfectly placed where only the receiver could get it, but not so low that it was impossible to catch, not so low that he had to go to the ground. Just an excellent throw. There were several throws where, look, Virginia Tech's daring you now to rely on Kyle Monangai. Virginia Tech is daring you to rely on your running game, and you are simply saying, no, we're going to rely on our passing game now. We have the receivers. We have a quarterback we believe in. We can drop back and throw the ball. Aside from a weird sequence in the third quarter where Ethan was sacked twice, and I thought maybe we should have mixed it up a little bit, the play calling was great, and Ethan was very good delivering the ball into the hands of our playmakers. And given the playmakers on this team, given the playmakers on the perimeter, and an offensive line that can hold its own, I don't think they were perfect by any means, and that's especially in pass protection in some spots, and run blocking as well, although when you're stacking the box that way, and Virginia Tech has a talented defensive line, it's not always going to be easy. But even with the offensive line, kind of doing an average job, and with the running game not getting to where you wanted it to go, we were able to pass the ball and beat the team that way. And also the play calling. Don't underestimate the fact that the fake tush push is something we've built up all season by running the regular tush push several times. Don't underestimate the fact that Ethan's cadence was probably a big reason why we drew Virginia Tech off sides on a key fourth down play. These things take time. These are things that you put into place throughout the course of a season, throughout the course of a game, to put on tape, to wait for your opportunity to spring, the change up on a team, and those things and those intricacies of coaching go a long way. So despite, some of the second guessing that went on midway through the game, this was a game we wanted to win. This is a road game that wasn't going to be easy. This is a Virginia Tech team who, back to a point I was trying to make a few minutes ago but got sidetracked. This is a Virginia Tech team who can still do very well in the ACC, may very well be a formidable team in the ACC down the stretch. That remains to be seen, but this is a team that has a similar makeup to the team that did well to finish the season last year. Options given a problem with Vandy. Rutgers is given a problem with an option. And if Rutgers is the team we think Rutgers can be, then this doesn't have to be a blemish on Virginia Tech's resume, and we'll see how they do. So you get a win, you come out. Kyle Monungai, 26 carries for 84 yards, only averaging 3.2, which is rough for him. But Sam Brown, 14 for 60 yards, averaging 4.3 a carry, 2 touchdowns. I was impressed with Sam Brown. This was the first time I've seen Sam Brown since a few years ago running the way that we know he can. And I just thought it was really encouraging to see if we have that 1-2 punch, and don't forget who we have behind them with Raymond and Benjamin and these other guys who can also put yards up there and do things. You've got a pretty nice tandem there, and it even goes deeper than a tandem with the guys we've seen so far. Sam Brown was running mean. Sam Brown was running angry. He was hitting holes and cutting the way you want him to do it. It's different than Kyle's style, but it served us well against Virginia Tech, who I think was keying in on a runner like Kyle. And Sam Brown comes in, and he gives them something maybe they weren't quite ready for as a stylistic runner. And he just carries guys similar to the way we've seen Kyle Monungai carry guys into the end zone for 2 touchdowns. So I think it was impressive. I think if he can stay healthy, we're going to have a really formidable run offense, but don't forget the passing. I mean, teams are going to have to now plan for us to pass and plan for us to run, and that's going to make things harder for everybody going forward. It bodes well for us. Kenny Fletcher just continues to be a weapon in the passing game. 7 receptions for 61 yards, averaging 8.1 a catch. Dymere Miller, I predicted, would be the leading receiver for the team this year. He was the leading receiver for the team on Saturday, 5 for 98 yards. And then Ian Strong, 4 receptions, 110 yards. Ian Strong has emerged really the way, where we thought he might be. Big body, sure receiver, and he's out there starting with these guys, and it's looking like we really have a solid to say the least batch of skill players. Longer Beam, obviously the key interception. You just had, I liked what we saw from the defensive line at times. At times, I think the linebacker core and the D-line still kind of not able to get a sack. We really gotta step up with the sack numbers. It's been an ongoing problem since last year. Wesley Bailey's back. He almost got a sack on that safety. He would have got a sack if Drones had held the ball, but he did not. So here we are, and at this point, you got to hope the D-line starts getting home on some of those pressures. But I'll settle for pressure. Pressure gets guys out of their element. Pressure throws offenses off. As long as you're getting pressure of some sort, I'm happy to some extent. So the Washington Huskies come to town on Friday. Remember, it's a blackout game. Wear black. The kickoff is at 8 p.m. I'm in the middle of a move. I'm going crazy. I got all these things going on, so I'm going to try my best to get to the tailgate as early as I can. But it depends. I will definitely be at the game. I hope to see you there. This should really be an electric environment. There's no reason why this shouldn't be an electric environment. 3-0 Rutgers against a new Big Ten foe, the runner-up from last year's national title game. A team now that's coming all the way from the West Coast to play us on the East Coast. It's going to be a late game in their biological clocks. Actually, it's not. It's going to be a normal game. What am I talking about? I'm going the wrong way. I'm flying the wrong way, guys. It's been a long week, and it's only Tuesday. What are you going to do? Larry K and Night Watch. By the way, that reminds me, since I totally forgot before, if you're watching me and you're in the middle of this podcast and you still haven't done so yet, can you please click the subscribe button? It's right here. Takes 2 seconds to hit subscribe. Does a lot for the channel. We're trying to get to a certain place where I can bring a lot more content and get a lot more bang for my buck on this channel, so please click subscribe. If you're listening on podcast audio form on Spotify or Apple or iHeartRadio, any of those mediums, be sure to go to YouTube and check out the Night Watch video version. Go to YouTube, search Night Watch Larry K, and follow the channel on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, remember, you can listen to this show on all and any podcast platforms. Just type in Night Watch with Larry K and it'll come up. But please continue to click subscribe on this channel. The subscription rate has grown. It has helped me immensely. It will continue to get us where we want to go and help me bring you more Rutgers content. So I appreciate everybody who's joined us so far and joined the family. I apologize I wasn't able to get a Washington podcaster in here this week to preview the game. I do anticipate trying to do that every week going forward. Some weeks are going to be easier than others. I'm sure there's a lot of great Washington Husky podcasters out there. It's just that with the short week and the game being on a Friday and all the stuff I'm going through right now, it was hard to pin somebody down and then try to get on a schedule to get them on the show. So we will have that guests going forward. I hope you enjoyed Brian last week with Virginia Tech. I'll continue to do that as we go forward. This week it just was hard to do, but don't count me out. I'm going to do that going forward. So Washington comes in 3-1, lost a game to in-state rival Washington State 24-19. That was a road game, even though the drive is, I think, less than an hour, not even close to an hour between the two. So that's their one loss. They've played 4 games in a row, and now they have to travel to the East Coast. That's going to present a challenge. Rutgers is a slight favorite, I believe less than a field goal last I checked. 2.5-point favorite last I checked. Let me know. Betting is not really my thing. I think you go to Mike Broadbent over there. He usually knows the spreads and the lines pretty good and keeps a good beat on them, so make sure you check out TKR. But we are a slight favorite, which is nice when you're going against the national title runner-up a year later and you're a slight favorite, even though you're at home and even though they're coming from the West Coast. That's still a nice thing and nothing to sneeze at. So you got to hope that bodes well for us. Washington coming off a win, their first conference, their first Big Ten game was a win against Northwestern, handled them fairly well, 24-5. Will Rogers, transfer quarterback, came from Mississippi State, where he is, I believe the second all-time passer in the SEC, in SEC history, coming from Mississippi State. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. 20 of 28 for 223 yards versus Northwestern. He was a kid who he came from Mississippi State and transferred to Washington, and then was at risk of transferring to Alabama to follow the coach there. He actually wound up staying in Washington. And that was DeBoer, who replaced Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer replaced Nick Saban in Alabama, and Will Rogers was going to follow him there. When Fitch got the job at Washington, he wound up staying at Washington. So he's a talented quarterback, and he's something to watch out for. Now, unlike Drones and some of these other guys in Scroggins, it's not as much, I don't believe, about containing him outside the pocket. But he can throw the ball, he can make things happen with his arm, and he's going to try to get the ball to his playmakers and make us pay. Washington, still a good team at 3-1. Yes, they lost a bunch of guys from last year. No, they're not the same team. And even last year, they lost to Michigan pretty handily. So that may say something about the discrepancies between the two conferences. That will be an ongoing discovery process throughout this year to see how these former Pac-12 West Coast teams assimilate into the Big Ten and where they stand in the pecking order. But he rushed for 7 times for 17 yards, a 2.4 yard per carry average last week. He's more of a thrower. Denzel Boston, 7 receptions for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. You got to watch out for him. They're going to try to throw the ball that way. And then, running the ball, Coleman, 15 carries for 67 yards, averaging 4.5 a carry, 1 touchdown. So, look, this is a team that can play ball. This is a team that's coming in and is going to give us a hell of a challenge. This is another one of these games this season where it could go either way. And if you're Rutgers and you're at home with a team traveling from west to east, coming off a big victory on the road against former Big East rival, current ACC team Virginia Tech, and with Nebraska on the horizon on the road, you're looking to try to win this game and really set the tone this year and really get off to the type of start that's going to lead to a lot of hype and a lot of notoriety, a lot of recognition, and a lot of expectations this week. Some quick stats on Washington versus Northwestern. 391 yards to Northwestern's 112. 247 passing yards, which is pretty good. I thought it was rushing for a second. You saw my reaction. It's been a long week, and it's only Tuesday. A lot going on with Night Watch and Larry K here, but I'm not going to stop giving you guys content. I'm not going to stop talking Rutgers just because I'm busy, and that's why I need the support. Click subscribe. But 144 rushing yards, still nothing to sneeze at to Northwestern's 59. 5.7 yards per play, 22 first down, 6 of 12 on third down, 0 of 1 on fourth down. Time of possession, 52, 52 to 27-8. So Washington pretty much won a straight-up game against Northwestern, lined up helmet on helmet. This was a home game for Washington. Washington State really kind of struggled, went to overtime with San Jose State last week. So it kind of remains to be seen what kind of team Washington is this year with a talented quarterback like that and a team that has recruited well, has a decent infrastructure and culture in there. You don't take anything for granted, and you don't expect Washington to be towards the bottom of the totem pole. At the same time, you lose your coach, you lose most of the key players from last year from your championship run, and then your championship run ended with losing to Michigan the way they did. And you come in with a very talented quarterback, some talented guys, but you're traveling west to east. You're coming into the blackout game at Rutgers, and it's going to be a raucous environment. And I think it's key for Rutgers in this game. When you have a talented passer, you have a guy who has weapons, and you have a guy who's accurate enough and consistent enough and talented enough of a passer to get the ball to those weapons. And you also have a rushing attack that's formidable in its own right and is able to keep a balanced attack. You need to rattle that quarterback. You need to be good on defense. I understand the linebacking core was a little banged up earlier this year for Rutgers, and the linebacking core is going to have to continue to get back into the groove of things. And the secondary has been good, but there's been times where the secondary I had some questions about, and that happened against Virginia Tech too. Twice we were burned by Felton, and twice we got lucky because Drones missed him. I don't think Rodgers is going to be missing guys like that. That's just not the type of quarterback he is. So I think if Boston or guys get behind our defense, I expect Will Rogers to make us pay. And that's why, it starts up front. You got to get pressure on them, and you got to stuff the run. Linebackers have to be keyed in to the right gaps and stopping the run. D-line has to be eating up some of those old linemen, and D-line has to be getting into that backfield, disrupting that pocket. Wesley Bailey now was disruptive enough, caused the safety against Virginia Tech. I'm looking for him to take another step now. I'm looking for Lewis to finally get home and get that sack. He's been so close so many times. I really need these guys to converge, whether it's Ray in the interior or whoever else in the interior needs to step up and collapse the pocket from the front, because it starts with the defense and throwing an efficient offense with a good quarterback off kilter. You're going to have the crowd behind you. Guys, please try to get in there on time. Try to get in there early and get loud. I'm expecting a big student turnout. I need the fans to get in there and really get loud and really cause a ruckus in there. Let the defense feed off that energy, because if we can disrupt this talented quarterback and he's off his game a little bit, given the defense and the crowd, then I think it bodes well for Rutgers, because our offense is now showing that it can be balanced. And our offense is showing that we have multiple guys in the running game, multiple guys in the passing game, and multiple plays in our arsenal that we can utilize. And no matter what Washington tries to do, whether it's keying in on the run, whether it's trying to confuse Athan in the lanes in the middle of the field, or counteracting that option, I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that Kirk Shiraka and this team will have some counterpunch and be able to take a shot right into wherever the vulnerability is in that defense. And so I think it comes down to throwing Will Rogers off his game and keeping him a little bit, from playing the way he wants to, and that'll allow Rutgers offense to set up shop. I think the offense has looked quite efficient and quite good so far this season, and I'm looking for that to continue. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'll give you a post-game reaction as I always do. Please expect game previews next week. I'll try to get a guest on from our behind enemy lines. And I hope everybody's enjoying the turn to the fall weather. And I hope everybody's going to be in their blackout gear and there early and loud for the game this Friday. Remember, Night Watch is available on every major podcast platform. Just type in Night Watch Larry K. Night Watch is available on YouTube. Please take the time to subscribe to the YouTube channel to follow more content. Basketball season starting soon. I'm going to have some more guests and some more collaborations, both on this channel and other channels coming up. Again, apologize for kind of the abrupt format of this show and the off-the-cuff nature of this show. It's just that I've been running around a lot, but I'm very engaged and locked into Rutgers football, as I know all of you are. And the next test, a very big, awesome test and a great opportunity, comes for Rutgers to chop the moment this Friday. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to talking to all of you again after that game. Keep chopping, go Rutgers. Larry K is out.